the mating bob, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So.
You know, whenever I speak on this subject, many a time some Muslim scholars who are present, they don't like this. Instead of being happy and, you know, so deeply satisfied about the beauty of the Quran and the Hadith, they feel very uneasy. Because then they know that they will have to accept Ahmadiyya. Because it is the Ahmadiyya view which is proved to be right, all the rest views are proved to be wrong. So, you know, the objections they raise, that shows the references of Hadith, who show them. Not all of them are Sahih. That is the answer. So you have quoted Baqi, you have quoted that, you have quoted that. They are not important, trustworthy books of Hadith. So in Bukhari or in other Sahih, only partially this is mentioned, but you are speaking of the whole facts of the new invitations about the travel. They are not related in the Hadith, Sahih Hadith. My answer to them is that as long as we did not connect it with the Dajjal, as long as we did not interpret them correctly to the conviction of all people on earth, as a proof of the truth of the Holy Quran and the Holy Prophet, you accepted them literally and didn't mind. The moment they are presented as a proof and evidence of the truth of Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you run away from it. Lest we shall have to accept also the truth of the promised Messiah. This is not a fair attitude. But again, you simply cannot run away from it. Weak hadith or strong hadith, irrelevant. All that is irrelevant. A prophecy which has come to be fulfilled so beautifully in every detail. If it was not the word of Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, it was the word of a liar who invented these things himself and attributed to Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. His words come to pass. His words come to be true. This is what your stand is. So who is true? Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam or the one impostor who stood in between, made his hadith himself, and attributed them to Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wrongly, and God proved that this is a true man, you know. He had no means of visualizing what there would be in future. So the hadith, after it has come true, according to Masih Maud Salam, has to be accepted in toto. It could not have been the word of any impostor. It could only be the word of the one who is well informed by him who knows everything.
No.
Now, the remaining part of the same traditions deals with the description of the Dajjal himself. So far we have been dealing with the so-called donkey of the Dajjal, and by leading us to understand the nature of that donkey, Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has made it all clear for us that whichever people invent fire-driven modes of travel, whose descriptions are given to you in every detail, they are the Dajjal, none else. You understand?
No.
Dajjal is the owner, described as the owner of that donkey. Ordinary people who are not Dajjal, they travel in that donkey from the sides. Now imagine how could be a donkey anyway who has openings on the side, in the belly, and he eats fire, and if people go and bite it, they're not burnt out. So it must be a separate compartment of fire. Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam tells us that when they enter from the sides, they will find comfortable places to sit, and it will be lighted from within. Imagine, it will be lighted from within. It is so comfortable to travel inside. So the donkey belongs to the Dajjal. That is, he is the owner, the master of all such modes. And all such modes of travel which are fire-driven were invented 100% by Christian powers, Christian scientists, developed by Christian governments and countries. So this is very clear now. Let us see whether the Christian let's say, the priests or those who are responsible for promoting Christianity in the world, are they who are mentioned as Dajjal or somebody else's? This also Hazrat Masih Maud has explained fully with reference to the Hadith, the Quran, etc., etc. And it becomes very visible. But let me first tell you the words, what is the message of the words themselves, literally, to which these ulama still stick. You see, there they should understand their ulama are the custodians of their faith as well. They don't know themselves the ABC and the intricacies of faith. It is the ulama who are the masters of everything, and they tell them what their faith should be. So I'm talking of the ulama, whether they have that faith or not is irrelevant. Officially, the ulama are the custodians of the faith of all sects in Islam. So their interpretation of this is literal. They say, okay, the Dajjal will be literal until, and a Gada, is donkey would also be literal, until a donkey of that dimension who begins to eat fire appears in the world, and they believe it will appear one day. We will not believe in any Messiah, because there are stages between the Messiah and the events of the latter days. In the first stage, a donkey has to come from somewhere. Whether it will be an ordinary female donkey which will give birth to such a huge thing, or she will also be specially created, we don't know. But they believe a donkey will one day fulfill all this description. All right, then we start traveling in that donkey, you know, when we see it actually running from place to place, country to country, then we'll wait for the Dajjal to come. And how would he come? He would come in the form of a huge giant who would be so tall that his head would be jutted out beyond the cloud line. And people from below, you know, they will strain their eyes and still they will not be able to see clearly what he looks like. Huge thing. And he would sit on that donkey, you know, and travel. If he sits on that donkey, why does it stop at every stage and announces, come on and ride me, and people go on riding, and on the top that huge thing is sitting? All this becomes a strange tale if not interpreted the way Hazrat Masih Maud was interpreted. But anyway, let's turn to the Dajjal now. He will have one eye completely blind, right eye, absolutely non-existent or completely sunken inside, and the right will be bulging out, and it will be a strange, very powerful eye. It will see through the earth into the underlayers of the earth and see the buried treasures and things. So that would be the donkey, the Dajjal. And he will conquer the whole world, traveling on the same donkey, and benefit only those who bow to him, who accept him as their false god. And the others he will mistreat, and if possible they will destroy them. Now the picture which emerges is that of a Christian rise of power, and the right eye being blind indicates that people of that period, although they would be Christians, but they will be blind in the side of religion, because the right side in interpretation always means religion. If you read any book of interpretation, you will see that if there is a loss of right eye, they will say, oh, you will suffer from religious loss. If the loss belongs to the left eye, they say, well, there is loss but not much to worry about. This is some worldly wise financial loss. See? So, Hazrat Masih Maud interpreted it as a great people indicated as a single man, but a great people, very powerful people. La yadan li ma li qitalihima is applicable to the two branches of the Dajjal. One on one side, one on the other. They will capture the whole world, bring that under their sway. And they will be from among the Christian nations. That is the interpretation. What is the support of this in Hadith? First support is that Hazrat Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam speaks of the Dajjal as Masihud Dajjal. You see? And at the same time, the Messiah to come is mentioned. The Dajjal is behind the Messiah, watching and following him. In enmity, as if he's monitoring the move, what he's doing. And Al-Masih is mentioned without Masih Dajjal. As a separate entity, both are seen together, circuiting the Khana Kaaba, circuiting the house of God. In front is Masih, the real one. And behind him is Masih Dajjal. So the word Masih added to Dajjal means that the Antichrist would be a Christian himself. You understand?
No.
So, there are rawabit as between the Hadith and the Quran, also between Hadith and Hadith. Now, having understood, we will turn now to the nature of Masih. This Dajjal has to be a Masih Dajjal, a Christian power, which will spread Christianity, and they will, although they will be very wise in the worldly affairs, so wise that they will uncover the secrets of the earth and see where the treasures lie. This is exactly what they're doing.
Yes.
All the treasure discovered in Arabia were done by the same Dajjal, representatives of Dajjal. And they see the proof before them, then they don't recognize it. And having done that, we will turn to the question of the identity of the Messiah. So first translate this, and then I'll turn to the question of Messiah and his relationship,
Yes.
or his fights with the Masih Dajjal. Two Messiah would appear. One would be the Messiah Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The other Masih Dajjal. And they are going to fight with each other and confront with each other. Dajjal sitting on top of that. Imagine the poor Hemar, imagine. How big he is. The side between them, the distance between the two ears is 105 yards. But the person sitting on top of it is jutting out of it. Thousands of meters tall. And on top of that, as if that weight was not enough to break the back of that Dajjal, people will enter it. But that is not enough.
No.
When that Dajjal will travel on the top of his donkey across the oceans, then he'll also carry mountains of food. You see? Unless you believe in Hazrat Masih Maud Islam as a divinely guided person, unless you understand the interpretation as is suggested by him, there is no logic in this. Now let us identify Masih more clearly. But before that, I tell you that the interpretation as Masih Islam presented, that one man represents the whole people. In dream, when some big man is shown, he is not shown as a single person. It is meant that the whole people he belongs to are included in that. The best proof I can offer is from an interpretation of a dream by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. Once one of his companions saw in a dream that an old king of Arabia had come back, and he was so beautifully dressed and he looked so wonderful, and as if the spring had come with him, and he was so worried. He said, what is means? The old Arab king returns. So Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallam interpreted it as people of Arabia. He said, your dream has got already fulfilled. By the king of Arabia, what is meant is the people of Arab. And with my coming, that spring has come upon you. You look so beautiful.
No.
Never before. You wore the libasul taqwa zinat, and now you have got that. So the interpretation of that dream by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself gives us the authority to interpret a huge man, a leader, as applicable to the whole people. Now about the Dajjal, we must refer to the Holy Quran and find out where the roots of all these traditions lie. In open words, we read in the Quran, Yajuj and Majuj, the two paths from which everybody from which nobody would be safe. But the word Dajjal is not mentioned. But Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam must have known where it was mentioned. So when he told about Dajjal and warned of the immense damage it would do to the world order, Sahaba trembled and feared. He said, even if somebody was saved from him, his smoke would at least reach his nostrils. Like in this smoke of the whole world, the pollution that is reaching everywhere. So Hazrat Rasulullah Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam told them, I tell you how to be saved from the Dajjal and his influence. Read the first 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf and the last verses of Surah Al-Kahf before you go to sleep. That is a charm against the negative influence or injurious influence of the Dajjal which may occur to you. Now, if you recognize the enemy, if you see him where he comes from and what sort of enemy that is, then you are saved. If he attacks you from where you don't know, then you can't be safe from him. So herein lies the key to the understanding of the Dajjal. Now read the first 10 verses and they're all about Jesus, Christianity. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا قيما لينذر بأسا شديدا من لدنه ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا ماكثين فيه أبدا وينذر الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا ما لهم به من علم ولا لآبائهم كبرت كلمة تخرج من أفواههم إن يقولون إلا كذبا فلعلك باخع نفسك على آثارهم إن لم يؤمنوا بهذا الحديث أسفا, and so on. Who is mentioned here? Christians?
المؤمنون.
Christianity when it is distorted.
Yeah.
A time of the Dajjal is also mentioned. Christianity when it's completely distorted, worldly wise, it will lost its right eye.
Yeah.
And once you have translated, then I'll turn to the last verse. There is another message, but similar. This is the religious aspect of the Dajjal. But the left aspect of the eye, which is in relation to the great scientific advancements of these people, which is in relation to what they will achieve out of industry and how they will become proud by being the masters of industry. That second aspect is mentioned in the last verses. And this reads, أَفَحَسِبَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَن يَتَّخِذُوا عِبَادِي مِن دُونِي أَوْلِيَاءَ. The downfall of Christianity started with the believing in one Abd as God or Son of God. But later on they would to add more and more awliya to that ibadat of Allah, like the Christianity did. It started with one mistake and ended up in awliya. So many saints, All over Europe, you turn a corner and there is the mention of a saint. And they all worship the saints. So this is the beauty. The beginning is about one mistake, one faux pas, one wrong step. And the end is, أَفَحَسِبَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَن يَتَّخِذُوا عِبَادِي مِن دُونِي أَوْلِيَاءَ إِنَّا أَعْتَدْنَا جَهَنَّمَ لِلْكَافِرِينَ نُزُلًا قُلْ هَلْ نُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِالْأَخْسَرِينَ أَعْمَالًا الَّذِينَ ضَلَّ سَعْيُهُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. This left eye is only what they see with. Right is absent. الَّذِينَ ضَلَّ سَعْيُهُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ يَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّهُمْ يُحْسِنُونَ صُنْعًا. They're great masters of industry. And this is what they have done. But it will be of no avail to them. أَنَّهُمْ يُحْسِنُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ وَلِقَائِهِ فَحَبِطَتْ أَعْمَالُهُمْ فَلَا نُقِيمُ لَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَزْنًا ذَلِكَ جَزَاؤُهُمْ جَهَنَّمُ بِمَا كَفَرُوا وَاتَّخَذُوا آيَاتِي وَرُسُلِي هُزُوًا. So this verse, these last verses speak of the, first of all, further deterioration of Christianity. Until so many servants of Allah or creations of Allah are turned into gods. Then their material progress and scientific achievements, particularly in the area of industrialization. And they are referred to as industrialized nations of the world.
No.
يُحْسِنُونَ صُنْعًا.
No.
But it would be of no avail to them.
Inshallah.
They still don't recognize what Dajjal is.
That's the realization.
You see this very, very, very delicate references are found in the Quran which connect one thing and another so beautifully, but unless God helps you read the underlying meaning, you can't understand. Jesus Christ is the one prophet who is proudly mentioned by the Christians as Kalimatullah. He was the Word. The Word was with him. This is the St. John which they quote, and this is exactly what the Muslims refer to him as. Ruhullah or Kalimatullah. Jesus, Ruhullah, Jesus, Kalimatullah. So if he's Kalimatullah, then they say he's above everybody. Now this verse demolishes this claim so perfectly and completely. These verses, that in the end it says, قُلْ لَوْ كَانَ الْبَحْرُ مِدَادًا لِكَلِمَاتِ رَبِّي لَنَفِدَ الْبَحْرُ قَبْلَ أَن تَنْفَدَ كَلِمَاتُ رَبِّي وَلَوْ جِئْنَا بِمِثْلِهِ مَدَدًا. They take pride in two types of kalima. One, Jesus Christ, and one, their discovery of the nature and the secrets of nature. He said, you are proud of one kalima, or your achievements in the world, you have discovered this secret and that secret. But if all the oceans of the world turn into ink, and the trees become aqlam, they will be finished and exhausted. And if we, God, decided to bring some more oceans to help, still the kalimatullah will not finish. This is the deep connection of the verses of the Quran right from the beginning to the end. And they speak of Dajjal and its end and all their achievements and nullify them and make them appear so small in the sight of those who understand the Holy Quran.